Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. I'm your host, Jason Aiken. In this week's episode, I will be discussing the sword and sorcery tale, Adept's Gambit, the original version by Fritz Leiber. This is the first tale written by Leiber about Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. It contains Cthulhu Mythos References, which were later removed prior to publication. This original version of Adept's Gambit also features a historical setting, which was later changed to an imaginary age. Fortunately for us, the manuscript was recently unearthed. The original version was published for the first time last month in June 2014 by Arcane Wisdom Press. This edition also includes H.P. Lovecraft's letter to Fritz Leiber as a commentary on the original version of Adept's Gambit. St. Joshi edited this edition and contributes an introduction as well as annotations for Adept's Gambit, Lovecraft's commentary on the original version of Adept's Gambit, and Yoshi's own introduction. The original version is available from Arcane Wisdom Press in a limited edition of 500 signed and numbered copies by St. Joshi. It is available online from Miskatonic Books for $45. That might seem a little steep for a book that roughly measures 5.5 and 7.5 inches and is just under 200 pages. But I'm very satisfied with my purchase. It's a really good-looking little hardcover. I especially like the illustrations on the inside, front, and back covers and end sheets. They're on a nice green background. The black and white illustration featuring Fafhrd and the Mouser is also a great touch. I'll put a link to the Miskatonic Books website in the show notes, and in this video cast I'll include photos I took of the book, so be sure to check that out. Between the physical beauty of the book and the first-time publication of the original version of Adept's Gambit, I feel this book is well worth the $45. I have to say that reading this was my first exposure to Fritz Leiber's writing. I read pastiche versions of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser in an issue of Bill Willingham's Fables comic book some years ago, but this is my first time experiencing the real deal. And I have to say, I love these guys. Both are a great deal of fun to read about. Mouser is the mischievous one, a fine swordsman and a former magician's apprentice. Fafhrd is a giant Northman, who is the more stoic and the straight man of the duo. Their patron warlock is named Ningobble of the Seven Eyes. He's also a riot. The pair visit him in his subterranean lair, seeking advice on dealing with a recent problem the two have been having. Lately, all of the ladies they have been taking a fancy to have undergone a small shapeshift into animals when they are kissed. Ningobble sends them out on a quest to hopefully bring about a solution. They are joined by a mysterious young woman with ties to the very adept they have run afoul of. Needless to say, action and adventure ensues. Adept's Gambit is really a great, weird fantasy and sword and sorcery tale. Now, as far as the Mythos references go, they are just that, references. There's a handful of them. Deities such as Cthulhu, Shub-Niggurath, and Yog-Sothoth or only mentioned. There's also a reference to Clark Ashton Smith's Book of Eibon. All of these were removed by Leiber after the death of H.P. Lovecraft in 1937. Leiber also stopped working on a mythos novelette that was to be set in modern times titled The Borrower Beneath. It appears his friend and mentor's death put the brakes on his desire to write more mythos fiction, at least for a little while. According to Yoshi's introduction, Lovecraft read Adept's Gambit in 1936, just a few months before his untimely death in March 1937. Lovecraft's letter to Leiber is pretty insightful. It shows how giving Lovecraft was with his time, and how he mentored Leiber. He really went over the story and supplied Leiber with corrections, suggestions, and other positive feedback. It's also noted by Joshi in the introduction that the manuscript that was recently uncovered and published here does not appear to be the draft Lovecraft read, as the manuscript has applied Lovecraft's corrections. Another cool part of the letter is how Lovecraft encouraged Leiber regarding Leiber's rejection from Weird Tales editor Farnsworth Wright in regards to Adept's Gambit. Lovecraft called Adept's Gambit a delectable little fantasy that just did not fit into the Pulp magazine formula. If you're a diehard Fritz Leiber fan, I think you'll want to check this out. If you're a fan of Lovecraft, I think you'll enjoy the insights from Joshi on this, especially during Lovecraft's commentary on Adept's Gambit. Just don't expect much in the way of mythos-related material here, other than a handful of references that I mentioned. If you're curious about Lovecraft and Leiber's friendship, I obtained a lot of information for this episode from Fritz Leiber and H.P. Lovecraft, Writers of the Dark, edited by Ben J.S. Sunsky and S.T. Joshi. It includes Lovecraft's letters to Fritz Leiber and Leiber's wife, as well as a nice selection of Leiber's fiction. It also has a collection of Leiber's essays on Lovecraft. It's available from Wildside Press for $19.95, and it is a great companion to this original, never-before-published version of Adept's Gambit from Arcane Wisdom. I'll be sure to include a link to both of these books in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm at Pulp Crazy on Twitter and facebook.com/pulpcrazy. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/pulpcast. Please follow, like, and subscribe if you enjoy the show. You can also email me feedback at pulpcrazy@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.